Okay, I guess we better get started. Call the meeting to order. Could I have a roll call, please?
Chairman Rob Miller, Vice Chairman Sherman Jackson, Commissioner J. Tuck Steinrock, Commissioner Kendall Smith, Commissioner Helen Ferguson, Commissioner Job Silva, Commissioner Steve Avila, Commissioner Sal Hernandez,
Here.
Commissioner Thomas Mitchell.
Is there any public comment? Status reports. Fish and game? I guess that's you, Mr. Freeze.
Check 1, 2. Thanks for having me here tonight.
Rob, can we do the minutes first?
Oh,
Minutes.
well, my computer's hooked to right here, so I'm gonna have to sit. Maybe stand. Do you guys need to do minutes?
Get a motion for the minutes. Are we going to approve them or not?
Those of you who have read the minutes, is there a motion to approve them? Motion and second. All in favor? Opposed? Nice. Thank you. Now.
Okay. Well, thanks for having me, everybody. I think I know most of you, but my name is Sean Freeze. I'm the North Coast Lands and Wildlife Program Supervisor. I manage the Wildlife and Lands Program for Mendocino, Humboldt, and Del Norte counties. I'm out of the Eureka Field Office, and I've been with the department about 17 years. This is actually my 17th year. I'd like to introduce two other department staff here. We have Taylor Bacon and Kiana Nova. Taylor is our bear deer biologist out of region, and Kiana is our unit biologist that handles Humboldt and Del Norte County. Does anybody have any questions for them while they're here? We can get into that later if you guys have additional questions. So I'm going to go ahead and sit. The goal here today is I'm going to update the commission on the current status of the deer conservation and management plan for the state. This is ongoing right now, and my goal here, I've done the same presentation in Humboldt. My counterpart wildlife supervisors inland are doing the same presentations for their respective Fish and Game Advisory Commissions in their respective counties, and it's also occurring statewide. The goal of this is to apprise our partners of the Deer Conservation and Management Plan, its current status. I'm going to break down chapter by chapter what's included in this, and then at the end I'm going to give you guys the information you need to provide any type of comments. This is just a preliminary comment section. You guys will have an additional opportunity to comment on the plan when it's released for public review here later this year, and it's really close, so I'll get to that as well. But the plan is actually being written by Wildlife Branch staff Brian Leo, most primarily. However, we do have technical advisory committees that are representative of statewide subject matter experts in each region, and as well as our Wildlife Branch technical big game staff. So again, the purpose of this meeting is to provide the public the opportunity to ask questions and provide input on the statewide deer plan. I'm going to provide background overview of the plan and its chapters, the next steps, and hopefully this will generate feedback that we can use to incorporate into the first draft of the plan. Okay. So hopefully next steps will lead to your guys' comments and questions. And if we could, let's keep, for now, at least through this presentation, let's keep our comments geared toward this generalized framework. And this is what we're going to talk about at this point, but I'm happy to address any other concerns you guys might have after this presentation is over. So the purpose of this plan is to provide a modern science-based framework to guide the conservation and management of California's deer. And just stating broadly, we know we have blacktail and deer and mule deer here. So I'm gonna refer to them collectively as deer, but we realize that there are two separate species in this state. They are different, they're ecological and biological ways, and those differences matter on how we manage them. And one of the ways we're gonna count through that is regional specific management plans, which we'll go over later, and those are called our deer conservation unit plans. So what are the goals of the plan? In general, the goals are to manage deer populations for their long-term viability, conserve habitats to support the long-term viability of deer populations, manage deer for a variety of recreational purposes, and collaboratively manage and conserve deer with other agencies and tribes, and engage in public outreach and education. So we took a pretty broad approach on this plan. We introduced deer conservation units, or DCUs, as the primary scale for management. DCU designations are based on ecological conditions and share the same boundaries as deer hunt zones, but each DCU is comprised of 2 or more hunt zones. This will let us tailor strategies to different regions while keeping a consistent framework. That's pretty important, particularly in California. We're vastly unique. Our B zones are way different than our X zones or our A zones, so we want to have the ability to adaptively manage these DCUs, and this plan is going to lay the framework for that. So the major recurring theme in this plan is adaptive management, and that means we will make decisions based on monitoring and research and adjust as conditions change. So this is a shift to a more flexible, data-driven model that integrates monitoring, research, and public engagement. And again, the plan is designated to serve as a generalized framework that can inform future regulatory changes rather than a prescriptive set of actions for a single issue. So a little bit of background on the plan. It's currently being scoped and developed by a technical advisory group, which consists of departmental staff members, including subject matter experts, so deer species-specific biologists. We have folks from our wildlife health lab, so our veterinarians, our genetics lab, and representatives from each of the 6 regions in the state. So our deer biologists, Taylor and Kiana, can look at this and review this. So we're pretty broad on our review. And our goal is to complete the first draft early this year. We're already 2026, so it'll be out this year for full review. So the introduction, what I'm going to do now is just kind of go through each chapter and tell you what each chapter is comprised of, what information we're going to include in each chapter, and we'll go from there. So chapter 1 is the introduction. Oh, go back. This is where we're going to introduce all of our deer conservation units. So if you look on that map, that's all of our DCUs in our state. I believe there's 11 of them. We're going to introduce the DCUs, which are displayed on the map, and the proposed goals of the plan. So our goals are to manage mule deer populations for their long-term viability, conserve habitats to support the long-term viability of deer populations, manage deer for a variety of recreational purposes, collaboratively manage and conserve deer with other agencies and tribes, and engage in public outreach. But we're also going to introduce adaptive management in this chapter. So I do want to mention in our earlier presentations, we did get a lot of written comments already. Mainly, it would be helpful to have clearly highlight our statutory and regulatory directives guiding CFW's, our department's mission, and we're going to include that in this chapter as well. So the next chapter is just deer biology and ecology. So before we get into population monitoring and management strategies, we thought it would be important to lay down a foundational understanding of the species, and that's what Chapter 2 does. It covers key biological and ecological characteristics of each of California's deer population. So some of the things it includes covers the biology, the ecology, habitat requirements, diversity and diet, behavioral reproduction, migration, ecology. Anything influencing deer behavior and survival strategies in California is what's in this chapter. It's going to provide a biological baseline covering habitat requirements, nutrition, social structure, reproduction, migration, and mortality risks. So this also reflects our current knowledge of how deer interact with a diverse environment and human activities that occur in our state. Now, it's also going to examine the key drivers of deer population dynamics and the role both natural and human-caused mortality, including severe weather, fire, malnutrition, disease, predation, roadkill, depredation, and harvest. So it's an ecological context that's very essential for us to interpret trends that we can respond to through adaptive management. So the main idea of this chapter is understanding these basics and designs so we can effectively have conservation strategies. So here's the chapter 2 outline. We want to be as transparent as possible here. So for each chapter in the presentation, I've literally taken them directly from the table of contents. You guys can see what we're including. So chapter 3 is our conservation and management framework, and this provides the framework for deer conservation in California. It describes the ecological, historical, and regulatory contexts that guide how deer populations are conserved and managed across the state. So this recognizes the role of tribal stewardship in evolving human impacts. It identifies current threats, and there's a lot of them: habitat loss, drought, species disease, fire, land use change. Really, our wildlife are getting a shotgun effect on their habitat right now. It outlines regulated hunting and predator-prey dynamics as key management considerations. So this is where we're going to include a lot of information on our prey studies and our predator-prey study interactions. And this chapter also explains how regulated hunting fits into conservation and why predator-prey dynamics and climate change should all be considered together. So the conservation framework is basically the full ecological and social landscape, not just deer, but everything that affects deer. Chapter 3 is a big chapter. Here's the outline. I already went through all this. One of the big things is the rulemaking process will be in this chapter, which is how our regulatory rules are formed and created. Okay, next, chapter 4 is population monitoring. This is essential for effective management. This is what we're throwing all of our ducks in a row here for this one. This walks us through the methods we use to track population statuses across the state. So to begin this chapter, we're going to expand a little more on the 11 deer conservation units. We're going to discuss that they were designed in part to satisfy Fish and Game Code, specifically Section 703.3, that mandates the use of ecosystem-based management informed by credible science. We also plan to provide a baseline population estimate for the state and discuss how we go about calculating that estimate. And this would lead to a discussion of our integrated population model. That's a word I'm going to abbreviate, IPM, Integrated Population Model, which will be our primary tool for assessing trends in deer populations in each DCU. So we go into the primary data streams that will be used as inputs in the IPM, including methods that we use for monitoring and research, which is fecal DNA sampling, GPS collars, camera traps, aerial survey using helicopters, fixed wings, and drones. And we stress that this approach is flexible and the methods will be tailored to each DCU depending on things like landscape and accessibility. So for example, we have a hard time counting deer in the air in Humboldt County because it's so thick with vegetation. It's not really a good tool. It's a good tool in some spots and we do use it, but this is going to allow us to just really open up our breadth of tools in the toolbox to manage the species and research on the species. So it's also going to include harvest metrics and independent indices to continually improve our understanding of population dynamics across the state. So our current primary method for estimating abundance across the state is through ground-based fecal DNA transects. For these surveys, deer are identified using genotyping, and this information, along with GPS and camera data, are used in a spatial capture statistical model, or SCR model. So that model estimates deer density by using repeated detections of individual deer, in this case via DNA, to infer where each deer lives. And by mapping these detections, the models estimate how many deer are in that given area. This is how we're going to basically have our baseline, and it's going to be a static estimate for the plan for each DCU. So we do have staff statewide out there doing these fecal DNA transects currently. And we've been doing it for quite a while. So to estimate the abundance each year, we're going to use repeat surveys every approximately 5 years. That's what our goal is, to help fit a dynamic model that will provide updated annual estimates of abundance, composition, and vital rates. So the purpose of the IPM will be to estimate the number of bucks, does, and fawns annually in each hunt zone. That's pretty critical, important information for us to allocate tags. The second purpose of the IPM is to estimate trends in each population abundance and identify drivers of those trends. So this map kind of summarizes our past and current fecal DNA effort across the state. So the blue dots Those represents transects completed from 2015 to 2023. And the red dots represent transects completed this last year. We don't have this year's up there yet, but we have that data. So we are doing repeat surveys, as I just mentioned, in the B zones and in the Cascades and the North Sierra, in some C zones and some X zones, which you can see shaded on the map. So data from each DCU will all be connected into one single statewide IPM. There may be different data collected depending on the DCU. For instance, there's an existing population model in the East Sierra indicated by the red X on the map that uses helicopter surveys and GPS telemetry data to estimate abundance, whereas in B zone, we almost entirely use fecal DNA and camera traps. So this is just the outline of chapter 4, all the things I just discussed. And moving on to the next chapter 5 is other data used for management. This just brings in essential sources that support decision-making from genetics, migration to health and human interactions is what one includes. So for genetics, we look at genetic diversity and how landscape fragmentation can isolate populations. Movement ecology is a big focus of this chapter. It includes migration corridors, seasonal range shifts, and natal dispersal, all of which shape how we manage habitat connectivity. It also includes disease monitoring, which is another core component. We go into how we archive and track our biological samples for population health assessments. And then finally, we discuss the use of incident reports from the public to monitor human-deer interactions, things like roadkill, depredation, things like that to help us inform outreach and management at the local level. Here's the outline of chapter 5. Pretty easy: genetic diversity, connectivity, movement ecology, and connectivity, disease, human interaction. Our chapter 6 is adaptive management. We've been explaining that a primary purpose of this plan is to provide a general framework for deer management in California. This chapter explains this framework and how we tie everything together through adaptive management, which again is a flexible, data-driven model for making informed decisions over time. So we outline this in chapter 6, and we're hoping to implement once this plan is published. The idea is that we set objectives, take action, monitor outcomes via science-based framework with the IPM, and adjust strategies based on what we learn. This approach lets us respond to changing conditions like drought, fire, habitat loss, disease outbreaks, or shift in hunter trends, or harvest patterns. So we mentioned the management strategies won't be one size fits all, and that's different DCUs will have different priorities. Some will focus on maximizing hunting opportunity, while others might focus on managing for mature bucks or habitat restoration. So population indicators like fawn survival, deer densities, demographic ratios, and harvest statistics will help guide these decisions on the DCU level. So here's our outline of chapter 6, basically taken directly again, right? If this does look familiar, we use the bear plan template. So I don't know if you all have read the bear plan, but that's pretty much the standard for the state to prepare species-specific management plans. So they're very similar, and that provides us with consistency, not only in review, writing, but also implementation. Our chapter 7 is research, resources, and organizational support. So this is basically what's needed to put this plan into action, from staffing and technology to partnership and long-term funding. We're going to recommend investments in data collection, storage, and analysis capacity, as well as strong partnerships with tribes, NGOs, and federal agencies. We're also highlighting staffing and resource gaps that need to be addressed for long-term success. And this chapter is just a reminder that conservation just isn't about research and decision-making. It's about having operational support to get the work done and the collaboration in place to follow through. Here's the outline, very simple chapter, but it does have a lot of robust information. So our next steps, that's why we're here. So we want to get input from our partners. This is one of many meetings that we're having with commissions, with board of supervisors, with hunting groups. We're going to have this first draft out this year, so that'll be distributed to your partner, to your group, as well as other groups. And then our internal review is basically already happening. So we're going to have public review here this year. So this is a real important page. This is the contact information for where anybody who has comments on this deer plan or questions on this deer plan submit their information or their questions. So there's a big game at wildlife.ca.gov, which is the general email. So if you have a comment, written response, I highly advise you to send that in there. And the phone number is there. Also, that's going to lead you to Brian Leo, who's our statewide deer coordinator. He's the one that's actively working on the plan as the primary writer. So yeah, please take pictures of that and share that. And that concludes the presentation on the deer plan. And I'm open for questions. And I can go back to specific slides. I do have a pretty robust 5 or 6 slides on our statistical analysis modeling, but it's really not going to be super informative. Again, this is a public presentation, so if I couldn't find it earlier on our website, but I know it's there. I can email it directly to the chair of the board so you guys have it if you want it. Does anyone have any questions regarding the Deer Conservation and Management Plan?
When was the last time they had an adopted deer management plan?
So, great question and interesting backstory. So there's been 2 efforts by the department in the last 20 years to finalize a new deer management plan, and none of those made it to the finish line. So we're operating on a fairly older plan. I can't emphasize enough, though. You know, when I started with the department back in 2008, our only sense of data we used to track deer was hunter harvest. That's it. That's all we had. And we had road surveys. Our unit biologists would have unique road surveys identified in each county that they would drive every year and count deer on. And that's some metrics. That's repeatable. That's interesting. But what we're doing now is just exponential compared to what has been done in the past with fecal DNA, with flights, with drones, with our camera siteability model. We really are doing the most updated, credible science to assess species abundance, mortality, recruitment, and health. So I've seen it just in my short career, the complete enhancement and expansion of our ability to study a species and adaptively manage that species. And it's been pretty remarkable with the tools we have and that we're employing right now. So my hope is that we account for all of our partner comments. We have a solid document that will be a framework for us to move forward with adaptive management of the species. And it'll be a living document. If something happens, hopefully we're going to be able to use this document for quite a while. And that's the goal. But, you know, we live in interesting times, an interesting state with a lot of interesting things going on. But this has definitely never been done before. They did it successfully with bear, and now we're doing it with deer. I see this basically being our standard. So 2 times before, Rob. Never made it to the finish line for various reasons that are beyond my knowledge. But this one's knocking on the finish line door. And again, our last effort here and our last real drive is to make sure we get comments from our partners. That's why I'm here.
I have a question. With all the fires and the following increased browse, have you seen an uptick in the population?
Yeah, we have. We're studying that right.
I assumed that. But
We're studying that right now. Those fires are pretty recent, so it does take a couple years to get that successional vegetation in place, and then to have that impact on the species. But yeah, we're seeing the benefit of post-fire ecology. I mean, some of the fires are so catastrophic that they sterilize the soil.
yeah.
And then you have mudslides in the winter. So to account for those extreme situations, I don't know that we have a lot of data. I mean, we've literally had a lot of our cameras burn up in wildfires. But yeah, we are accounting for that.
No comment. I've had cameras along the Smith River a couple of years now, and I haven't seen any fawn that survived more than about 2 or 3 weeks. And during the fires, I was getting a lot of bear. In fact, I'm getting more pictures of bear longer than I am. Deer population on this river is nothing. Getting a deer picture now is like once a month. As
Yeah,
I
so
think it's the coyotes.
I
Coyote
won't.
population is loaded to chicken ranch, or and hundreds of literally coyotes.
Sure. And that'll be included in our chapter on predator-prey dynamics. And what's interesting, and I think timely, is we're also doing pretty extensive bear studies right now.
And the bear too, also during the fire, the big fire, that year I had lots of bear. In fact, I had this one big old boar, lots of pictures of him, and he was all burnt up, you know, his ears were actually
These,
deformed from the fire, and patches, and his fur mostly burned off, but he survived. He, 6 months later. A lot of bears during that, a lot of bear pictures.
there's a lot of bear up here. We have probably, I mean, anecdotally at least for now,
I don't consider him a problem.
we've got probably the most bear in our coastal counties than anywhere else in the state.
I'm happy.
Can you hunt bear?
Yeah. I mean, I haven't hunted them for a while, but I used to.
Then the salmon will come back and they'll be eating the salmon and it won't be any good to eat.
I don't care. As long as they're happy, I'm happy.
And
I
so,
just want to let you know that the deer
Yeah.
population on the Smith River.
and we've seen
Nothing
that, we've
compared
seen
to
that
what
in a number of places, but we've also seen deer expansion in a number of places too. So it's, you know, depending on what's going on the ground, you're going to have that variation.
The coyote's been killing the sheep and stuff over at Angel's Ranch, and shot a few of them in my own yard trying to get my sheep recently. Guess they're running out of food, lower on food.
Hey,
Well,
come right
they-
into my
Hardly
yard.
any
Sheep are easy kills from
Huh?
compared to what a coyote normally eats in the wild. So, yeah, they're going to go for
Yeah,
it.
I know.
I mean, things like guard animals and
They tear
Things
their
like
guts
that.
open of the sheep.
yeah.
And the poor sheep dies of having his guts eaten out, you know.
Maybe one day. Yeah,
I don't like the wolves.
Why don't the cougars eat
cougars eat what?
everything? I had a dead deer 100 feet from my bedroom window. My dog kept coming up with these deer bones. Finally, I started walking around the pond, and there it was, all chewed up. You know, sure that big cat that was around our area took it
Oh,
down.
I'm sure. You guys got a lot of lions up here.
Yeah.
So, any questions? Any other questions? This is the call for comments. So, a lot of the comments have already come in. A lot of them are repeat comments. What are you guys doing about bear predation or predation on animals? Are we going to limit tags? Things like that. So, you can't. It's okay to duplicate questions. Again, that last slide is where you want to send them. You can always send them to me, but I'm just going to send them to that email, so I just advise you to do that. And this is not the final opportunity to comment. I fully expect to be here again with a full plan, have your guys' review and give you a month or however long it's going to take, but we will be on a timeline for public review. I don't know how long we'll give you guys, but it'll be a couple weeks, a month, something like that, to read it and provide feedback.
I
And
do
then-
have a question. There's been a significant drop in deer tags being sold?
No, I don't think so. I don't know if we topped out B zone this year. We did last year. So,
Most of these zones early.
Yeah,
I bought
so-
mine late. I was able to get out the first round.
yeah, so I think you're still getting 2 tags too. So,
For B zone?
yep.
Yeah.
I mean,
Just a quick question. I didn't hear because I don't hear very well. Are these deer numbers that you're going to be coming up with in the northern end of the state, are those going to be fed back to the wolf conservation that's going on to see what the depredation from the wolf is?
well, we don't have wolves over here on the coast.
Pardon?
So we don't have wolves here in Del Norte County or Humboldt County
No,
or Mendocino
okay.
County.
You're just Humboldt and Del Norte, but I saw your effort went all the way to the end of the state.
So we
and-
do count for wolves in our predator-prey dynamic section of the chapters. So we are incorporating information.
So you're coordinating with Siskiyou and
We
the other
are.
counties then?
Yep,
Okay, so.
absolutely.
So do you know if those numbers are going to be used to monitor the depredation by the wolves?
I would assume they would be.
All right. I do understand that. I'm just wondering if his numbers are going to be,
Well,
and they're not yours, they're
when
going
you
to be
say my
Siskiyou
number,
County, I
each
guess. so.
DCU, so the Siskiyou DCU will have information on wolves and the impacts to the deer species.
Okay, thank you.
That's nothing we would need to consider here for our B zone.
Yeah.
Sure. That's okay.
Have a strategy down the road. Data. I don't know how many. It doesn't really matter.
For big
My point
games.
is competition. I would hope that and whatever down the 7 years data, 5 on funding somewhere doesn't affect budget, which
Yeah.
is what feeds all.
A great point, Jeff. We did it. One of the chapters does look at path forward, what we need to this work. Going to be outlined in here. Make sure and say this is what we're doing, this is what we want to do, and this is what is request. Our funding does. I've been at a basically a statewide program. We are Robertson. Our funding outlook. Our current staffing have not. Our life. As long as I've been department. That staff position. That's all I can say is
Yes.
What's your question? Question. They're all down in Humboldt. Well, not necessarily. There was our working group that was a partnership with the state, mostly private, actually raised the geese out of it. That's what happened. I mean, you had guys in parachutes. Well, yeah, we don't control the population of geese. That's controlled in the fields of Alaska and nesting. Yeah, I'm not arguing that, but what I'm saying is that geese, their breeding grounds is up north. And we don't, when the conditions are prime and they have a ton of abundance and a ton of recruitment. Yeah, well, they winter here, they do. But this specific, it's a little bit more complex. What happened with Del Norte. There was an actual push by humans here to get them out of here. More than that. I mean, we have graze.
Gotcha.
But we are managing for it. We have graze. What you're referring to is that was something. They hit an chunks.
Yeah. Other people tried.
Sean, if I could just go in a little bit on what these two guys are talking about. And I've walked the walk here for many years, and the problem is that even if you put these plans together, like the original Lake Earl Wildlife Management Plan, the so-called elk management plan, whatever it is, and this all looks really good, what you showed us here now. But the problem is how are you going to follow up? They put the lake level at a ridiculous level, and it destroyed almost everything out there. And so then the plan, oh, well, we're working on it. Nothing happens other than everything here on paper. Then I was with Paul Springer when the last 150 Aleutian geese were here, and they were on our place there at Lakeview. And so I was right in an initial comeback and know all the history of the islands and so forth and so forth. So you write this plan, and it's great. You can pull it up on your computer, anybody can read it. But the problem is to implement the plan. And that's the thing. We spend thousands of dollars on property acquisitions and writing these plans, and then nobody manages. They'll say, oh, we're short of staff, like by your own admission. Many of these wildlife positions haven't been filled. And that doesn't mean that it's anything personally wrong with any one of you that work for the department. The bottom line is the department professes to manage, and their idea of management is to shut the door and walk away. Now, whether that's no one intentionally does it, but they always point to finances. So we can write, and I want to call them fictitious plans, and all done in good faith. But we can never, ever get any kind of balance back. And then they go ahead and they talk about wanting to have everything natural and this and that. Well, things were pretty natural until the department stepped in the 50s. Is when it first started over on Lake Earl. And that beautiful place has been destroyed, bottom line. And so the thing is we look at all of this now, and if you don't have a management plan for coyotes, you don't have a management plan for any predator on these geese, even though this biologist here will do a wonderful job, it's not going to do any good until you can get the systems, the checks and balance of what is natural. And I did mention the wolves. I realize they aren't here now, but if they don't get a handle on that pretty quick, they are going to be here. And so here we do all this work only to have it blown apart between this protection or that protection. And what he said a minute ago about getting all of that equipment out there and everything, we need to use it. And everyone wants to be cooperative about it, and it goes clear to every little project that they have. It never, ever has any checks and balances. And I think, me personally, that's what I would like to see happen. And I think it's just a matter of everyone sitting back and saying, hey, where are we going? And we get this wonderful deer plan, but we're not looking at all the other factors, I don't think. Hopefully, we will look at some more of those things. But like he brought up about the coyotes, how about putting a bounty on the coyotes or doing something here? I mean, you have to address what's actually destroying.
Sure, but coyotes is different. That's a nuisance.
Huh?
Coyotes are a nuisance species. You guys can shoot them if they're on your property protecting grass.
Yeah, I realize that, but how about a bounty on them to get people out to do something? I mean, if they're killing everything, we need to depopulate them.
Yeah, that's something that needs to be.
How do we go about doing that?
You attend Fish and Game Commission
Well,
meetings.
I know that, but I meant who would be,
That's out of our wildlife.
and who would that be? Who would be your state contact for that?
Mario,
Okay. All right.
we have problems with coyotes.
Do they have bounties anywhere? I know they in other states they do. Huh?
Not in our state for a long time.
That's maybe what the problem is. Yeah, that would be the big thing. I mean, this all looks really nice, you know, and I've met you before, and I think you'll really do a diligent job on it. There's no doubt on that. But it's the other things that destroy the very thing that you profess to set out to save.
I understand the comment. I would just say that we're here. We're always here to talk, collaborate.
Yeah.
I'm not going anywhere. You guys are stuck with me for a long time.
We got your number.
I'm always willing to come and sit at the table and look for solutions. I have an open door completely for here and anyone else.
Just like a start right now, would you back us if we started to say that we would get a bounty on coyotes?
I would say that that's something that we would need to have data. I don't have time right now. I think it's a good idea to livestock from predators. Good idea to conserve predators.
Yeah.
I'm not willing to give you a basically. a
Yeah,
statement saying
and
something
I'm
right
not
now.
trying, I'm not trying to be rude, but the thing is like what you just said there, about, protect the geese from them. The problem is the geese aren't here anymore because they've run them off. The only place the geese are is on our local lands for the most part. And we're trying to get a handle on this grazing thing, and I talked to you earlier today about some ideas maybe we'd have. But the right hand has to know what the left hand's doing. That's the biggest thing that I see that's a problem.
It seems the discussion has highlighted a couple of points that the public can see, not from within the department potentially, but the public looks at the department and as an example, an elk management plan or a deer management plan or a Lake Coral wildlife management plan, and you spend a bunch of money to develop a management plan, but then there's no management.
I understand you.
That's what the public sees, and that's the reason that there's some negative comment, because, you know, as this gentleman says, you know, the Aleutian goose is a perfect example, and the amount of geese that were physically out in that area at one time, and there aren't any hardly anymore, is because an awful lot of that land that was fish and game management land never got managed after they took hold of it. And then you go out and spend a whole bunch of money on equipment that if anybody knew what they were doing, knows that that's not going to work, because they should have never bought big tractors with those tires on them. Should have bought tracks. And then when they drive over the stubble that was created, because there was no mowing and management there for so many years, and pokes holes in the tires, they're never going to be able to mow that property with a tractor with tires unless they want to spend $20,000 a year for 3 acres. That's just crazy. It's just crazy. And the only way it can get fixed is communication, and whoever put in the grant for that equipment, as an example, had no clue what they were doing. And it's a bunch of
Yeah,
tax dollars that
What you don't know is the statewide equipment grants that bought that equipment gave us a
Yeah.
amount of
sure,
leeway on what,
sure,
that's what we could buy.
yeah.
We figured that'd be better than.
Yeah, but as an example, if somebody would have gone out and looked, they could have put in and requested and demanded the same exact amount of money spent for a tractor with tracks, not a tractor with rubber tires. And that has to come from within somehow, and there's probably nobody in the state Fish and Wildlife system that has a clue about that. And that's just the way it is. I mean, and so a management plan, there needs to be management, not just to write the plan and go out and do another plan and go off and do another plan and never come and circle back to actually manage it. Because that's what's happened at Lake Earl. There's almost no management at all.
Thank you for the comment.
Pardon me?
I said, thanks for the comment.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I don't think any of these comments are targeted towards any individual.
No.
It's the system that's broken within the department.
I understand your point. Just as the lands program here in front of you, we're open to working to get good outcomes
Who's going to be the new director, or what's going on?
on me. You know, acting. You'll know when I know.
Now, I got a question. Do we have an existing, like, where can we view the existing plan that's in place right now for our deer that you guys are trying to replace with this? There's nothing, so what are you guys going off of right
It's on
now?
our website. We have an existing deer management plan, but it's outdated. That's why.
Correct, that's why, so I wanted to kind of see and compare with what was going on then to what you guys are proposing
I think it
now.
was done in the 80s.
Oh, Jesus.
But that's
It
fairly new
is
then.
available on our website.
It is?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just look under Fish and Game Deer Management Plan.
Yeah, it'll be up. If you can't find it, email me and I can. It's on there. Not the most.
Question for the biologist, how outdated do you think it is?
Yeah, everything from the 80s.
I think now we have a lot more, we have a lot more ideas of how the deer are being organized. Sometimes that starting to look at bears, collaring bears, looking at collars, and do a side by side with their deer collars, so we can see pretty much the next, see how they're pushing.
So the main predators for the deer, what would you say the top 3 or 4 are? So what's going to happen as a result of that?
We've already got one that just completed on Highway 90
For bears?
for everything.
Huh?
It's for everything. Everyone
Oh.
uses it.
Highway 96, where?
Yeah, Highway 96, done.
Uh,
County, we just did it.
Is that downstream from Klamath?
I don't know. County, it's done and it's got
Really?
cameras on it. I mean, we picked that point because all of our GPS data is all that's current.
Well, I've only
all
hit 2
animals
deer
crossing.
on 96
That's where all of our,
over the years.
yeah, that's where all of our,
They're using
that's
it.
where all vehicle collisions were happening. That corresponds with all of our GPS data. That's the spot we built a crossing. Now we're
What do they need? What do you test? I mean,
Spinal.
what part of the deer do you use?
Spine.
Oh, okay, I saw the pictures, yeah, okay. That makes sense.
So you mentioned that CWD was down south someplace, that far Southern California, or? Yeah, so how is there CWD in Nevada? And so it crossed over and migrated with other deer that came from Nevada?
We don't know. It's all speculative. I mean, it could have been brought in by a hunter who practiced unsafe field dressing of their animal, brought in spinal tissue from the state, dumped it. Easy as that. We don't know. Nobody. Right now, it's
And-
no way to.
And it gets transmitted from deer to deer how?
Beyond environment. Infectious beyond assumed. And they're immortal. Not a good. And that, all CWD will be.
Yes.
What if
See, so while we're spending all this money doing this deer thing, what about the mountain lion, the bear, and, well, I know like the coyote's a little different thing, but where are those management plans to be in tandem with this? Otherwise you're striking out on a tangent that can never be solved if you don't, and that's what's happened. That's traditionally what's happened with Fish and Game all across the board.
The bear management plan is,
Huh?
the bear management plan is complete. We're actually implementing adaptive management monitoring.
Yeah, but the bears are a problem. And so how is everything going to be meshed together to make it good all the way around? Have a healthy bear population, but not out here. And the same with the mountain lions. I mean, everything's out of sync because everything's off on its own tangent. So what can we do to get it back? I mean, the Fish and Game Commission, I mean, they're as helter-skelter as anybody.
I would say that, the bear plan is complete. That allowed us to get a statewide framework of basically what I discussed on deer with bear. It's the same, almost the same plan. You could remove deer and put bear in there. Existing bear management plan, I advise you read it. We're actually executing those research projects right now, actively capturing deer or bear. We're monitoring where they go. We're monitoring the mortality, their recruitment, looking at their dens, looking at their cubs, monitoring disease. So all that's going to play in, all that data is going to come to play into this document.
So when push comes to shove, which is going to win? I mean, do you have any, what's the goal? Right.
Yeah, it's a direct impact at that point.
Yeah.
We hope that really.
So when you're requesting an opening of that area, that has to go through Fish and Game Commission, right? To get it into the regs.
That's in our regs package already in.
So that's been adopted and that section, that county or whatever will be open another year. So then the next question is, if you have a significant population and you're not getting enough bears harvested based upon your management plan, what's the next? There is another way to harvest more bear, right? How would that be? Dogs. And so though when the dogs went away,
That reason, when the dogs went away, that really spurred the implementation of developing bear management. Actually get the data. Anything that brought us closer to bringing back dogs allowed us to.
sure, and then of course that also goes into there are certain counties or certain areas or certain units or whatever where you could use a dog, and there's certain units when it's still going to have to be banned, and that way you can better control the population in certain areas, because I'm tired of them coming in my garage. I mean, it gets serious when they start coming in the garage.
So who in the department is the coordinator for all of these plans? Mario. He's the head for everything we're kind of talking about?
Scott Gardner is the branch.
Yeah.
manager for Wildlife.
Okay.
Mario Clip is the program manager.
Got it.
Basically Jeff Stoddard.
Right.
Mario Clip supervises statewide bear special.
See, the bears, the wolves, the mountain lions.
The wolves, the mountain lions,
Okay.
fall out of wild.
That's what I think we need to come up with, and that all the plans, the plans are only as good as the person works on them. But if they do come up with a plan, then they have to be able to do something with them and not just put them on the shelf. So maybe,
They have to be managed, and they have to be pliable, and they have to
Yep.
work this way and work that way, and be and not just fixed forever.
yeah. So does he just, Mario as the head, or does he try and balance out these plans? I mean, where's the coordination for all the plans is what I'm trying to say.
The coordination is nexus out of our planning of statewide
Hmm.
Bobcats.
Hmm.
So it's all coordinated, all funded from branch, and out.
Hmm.
Okay. Anyone else have any other questions?
I got one question that's kind of off the beaten path since I got you here. I'll ask you. This past year in July, you guys did away with the youth hunter fees, like for the youth hunters. Are we looking at maybe
Waiving
bringing
of
that
the
back?
fees, the waiving
I
of-
couldn't understand your question.
The youth tag.
The youth tags, for the youth tags. July, you guys ended that, the price for the reduced price for the youth. Yeah, so for the youth hunter. Now, you guys looking at maybe bringing that back, or is there something that we can do to?
I would love that. That's something that's gonna go out of ALDS in our Sacramento office. That's something that Flip is also,
Okay,
in my opinion, that should. Standard.
yeah.
Yeah, that's all.
I could take my grandkids to Arizona out there, $10.
Yeah,
And get an
I mean,
elk too.
And we're striving to have more renaissance and all those, but I agree, I think
no, just,
that's out of the Sacramento.
okay,
That's
so we,
not here. I mean, we
Well, I think what happened wasn't, Sean, from what I understood, there was a sunset on that. And then it expired, and everyone kind of was hush-hush, and then all of a sudden it went away. And even some of the program managers didn't know it because originally, like with the elk, we put out that it would be that junior fee.
Yeah.
And then when push came to shove, they had to pay the $5.95 or whatever it was.
Yeah. Question. Really appreciate your time. It's always good to come up and talk. Happy to do it at any other time.
I do have an unrelated question. I hadn't hunted deer here for years. When I did, you shut down the woods because of the fire.
Say that again?
No, the last time I had it, I hadn't had deer tags here in 20 years.
Oh,
So I got the deer tags, and then the fires
The
came
Smith
in,
River fire?
and we couldn't hunt.
yeah.
So who do we blame?
Mario and Scott.
Divine intervention.
That's a
We'll
popular
tell
name
Mario
coming up.
he's the answer to everything.
In all honesty, I really appreciate your guys' partnership. Happy to be. If I don't know the answer,
Here's one that doesn't have under your jurisdiction, but who maintains the Lake Earl level monitoring station? Do you know?
it's Noah.
That figures. It's broken.
It's been broken.
Been
It
broken.
reads like 4.6.
Okay.
Yeah, it's wrong.
Yeah, I'll check into that right away.
Probably 10 now.
Check into that right away. I know the county.
Relevant. That's
Anything over 4 feet is irrelevant.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Good information. Appreciate it.
Good luck, elsewhere.
Blow up when I plug here.
Yeah.
Hey, did that legislation ever go through? If you have a roadkill, you
You
can.
know, it got,
Oh,
It never happened.
if it did,
Never got
the amount
implemented.
of big truck bumpers being sold would have been.
So,
Yeah.
so in other words, it's don't say don't.
Thank you very much.
Head back down.
thank you, ladies.
Hey, guys.
So we have, is there anything for the discussion for public lands, federal and state at all this evening? Private lands?
I do have one question. Why doesn't, I mean, if we want to get rid of all those. Not always. But not just double. Well, that's the thing, when I cleared my land, pull them. Don't pull them,
If you pull Scott's broom, 10 more will come back in the same
no,
spot.
not when they're just done.
But you know, it's that thing called spray.
Yeah, but
Well,
still leave the stuff, you gotta get.
The other thing you could do, which requires another piece of equipment, of course, you could go through with a masticator and that'll cut them off at ground level.
Yes.
And then if you mow it as they used to, then they won't have the problem anymore.
That's right.
And if they don't change their equipment, they're going to mow another 3 acres and have another $20,000 worth of tires. Okay, we'll go on to the elk stakeholders group. I don't think there's anything cooking there at the
Yeah, I
moment.
was just going to say, we are going to have a spring hunt.
Really?
Yes. Yes. And this obviously will be a meat hunt. It won't be trophy horns. And it's just no. Uh,
My kind of hunt.
they're they have to have 4 inches of horn growth and no cows, and it's just bulls. And it'll start in February and it'll go to June.
When,
We're running one of them.
I mean, I didn't think,
You mean how do you get
Tags.
that's just coming out
well, then, where?
on the Fish and Game site
For the sheriff.
for the sheriff. It'll be run a little bit differently. I think we only got 5 tags, maybe. And what it is, it's to cut down on the necessity for a depredation permit, like if these herds are around, become really troublesome. And so like say 5 of you guys drew it, then we have their number, and hopefully they're people that can either hop their private plane and get here or whatever and say, hey, the elk are here, they're causing a problem, and we take them to that place.
Anybody ever thought of a proxy?
Oh, what?
Proxy.
Yeah, so somebody's looking at it. Proxy.
Hell trees over for you got
Yeah,
that through.
Alaska uses proxy.
You know, my
that's
son's
Alaska.
new girlfriend,
This is California.
their son and his daughter and wife, they put in deer hunts. They got 4 tags,
This
one
year,
family.
they get their
Yeah.
their tags filled?
Oh, they got 3 of them.
Oh. Yeah.
I think the last one.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I haven't talked to you. Still had a week left
So
of
it's
the last
still
one.
on the site? the
Yeah.
website? But,
I don't know if it's up yet, but it will be.
So I have drafted a Lake Roll
levels management plan?
I only had
That's okay, I can read on mine. Yeah.
I spelled it exactly the same way they did in the
It's TA.
and I did it that way on purpose.
It's, I'm telling you, that's what is on the plan, but that's what
Okay.
we're trying to point out. Yeah.
So what I'd like to do is I would like to have the commissioners review the plan. And then at the next meeting, we can decide if we want to make any changes or just push it up to the Board of Supervisors so they can send it to Sacramento. And we can send it to the CDD office and implement it.
It's just going back to the 1950s flood control and putting it back in the hands of the county, which was, it was never ever officially taken out of the county. It was just another one of these fictitious plans that got written and never managed.
So the main part that changed was regulating the lake from the 4-foot to the 8-foot level.
That happened how long ago?
And that's when all the
I can
problems
tell
started.
you exactly. 1993,
Pardon?
92, and they started, the first of it was in like 82, right after the Coastal Commission came in the late 70s. Yeah. See, still yet, the county, on all our tax bills of the county, we are taxed for the 5 different flood control districts in our county, and money still goes into that. And the Lake Earl people, then that was run by the Del Norte County Flood Control District. And that is kind of where this plan needs to go back to the Del Norte County Flood Control District.
So this is changing the current regime, which is for emergency flood control by the county, to putting it back into land management where it's managed for the lands rather than emergency flood control.
Right. And really, they don't have, I cannot think of one single species that has benefited from a higher lake level, and they can't either. Yeah. A lot of them.
So this plan outlines the species that we've lost. It outlines that the state is not performing and developing our cultural or our natural resources as should have been when they took over the management. It also tells that the funding for the breaching goes to the landowner, which is Fish and Wildlife. State of California Fish and Wildlife. So please review the plan, and I believe that there will be a public comment period before they would send it to Sacramento or implement it, so.
Yeah. You see, unfortunately,
I don't have an extra copy for you, Jim.
Unfortunately, you guys, is that prior to what he just said, when the flood control district came in, my mom was the secretary, and we collected X amount of, or she did, X amount of dollars from all of the ranchers around the lake. So then we were told that we had this newly formed flood control district, and Kreitzer was the name of the guy that wrote it here, and we said, okay, you can relinquish your rights, because we had a prescriptive right to do it. You will forever be protected through the flood control district. And that's where the county dropped the ball. The county just said, no. We're the ones that's in control here. But the county was running scared at the time. And that's what happened. And it needs to come back because we're paying taxes for flood control in that district, even today. Well, it's in general in the flood control district, but there's 5 districts, but each one, they just are neglecting us on the flood control district.
So, but is that money building in an account specifically for flood control, or are they stealing the money out of that tax for flood control and spending it somewhere else?
That I have no idea. But it's going somewhere. And I mean, maybe it's for digging another ditch. I mean, I'm not saying that they haven't spent it on something else, but that was one of the major concerns because Lake Earl was considered a catch basin for all the runoff. And it was supposed to be managed. Or we would never, ever have relinquished our right. And just so when we had our lawsuit, the state attorney general was at our house, and they said that I personally, because we own land still there, could have gone out and breached the lake because I had the prescriptive right. And the difference between a prescriptive right is that you don't have to ask permission. And where the county went amok is they asked permission. They got an LOP for the first few years, and then it transitioned into total control. Yep.
Just like 1602 permits for drainage issues and so forth. Once you get a 1602 permit to clean a drainage ditch or something, then Fish and Wildlife will control that forever. You no longer have, if you just go out and do it, they could cite you maybe, but once you get a permit once, then you have to get a permit always.
They never got a permit under that section when Pacific Shores did it, back when they did all the big arrests and everything. They never asked for it. They just said they were doing it because they had the right to do it under that particular section. And that's why, like, our local district attorney, and no one would touch it. And that's why it went to federal court in San Francisco. And they couldn't get them on that. They got them on a violation of the Rivers and Harbors Act of 1893. They had to pay a $1,000 fine. We just got a $1,000 donation from one of our elk hunters. Yeah.
So you're going to put this on the agenda for the next meeting that we vote and say, send it over to the Board of Supervisors for them to implement it?
I'm going to put it on.
It'll just be under the Lake Earl issue. So.
Saxton's, I see somebody came in, of course, was that, I missed the last meeting, but I noticed in the minutes of the last meeting that somebody came in and mentioned that Annie Niemeyer, she wasn't here, was she?
Yes, she was.
She was here?
She was here. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, she was here and she gave an update on what I forwarded everybody.
And who is she?
She was the redhead that you originally talked 2 times
Oh,
ago.
yeah. Yeah, I've talked to that guy several times, and he thought he had money for a couple loads of rock. I said, that'd be good, that'd be a good start, but never seen the rock. I agree, but any the county, they got nothing to do with that. They won't. Oh, they might. Yeah, they might. Okay, elections.
Well, Sherman now becomes the chairman. We need to have a vice chair and a secretary. So we need nominations for vice chair would be where we'd start.
I say it stays the same.
You want Rob to be the vice chair then? Is that what you're nominating?
What's that?
Are you nominating Rob to be the vice chair?
No, just to be the chairman like he is.
That's up to them.
Thank you, Rob.
Not sure that's true. I'm fine if that's what the group
Okay,
wants.
so Helen. you
All in favor?
I vote to keep the status quo.
Aye.
Okay, but we do need a different secretary because Job was our previous secretary and we haven't seen Job in a while. So, and the secretary position is just by name only. You don't have to take notes. No, you don't. You don't have to take notes. Sal.
Just because of that, I vote for Sal to be the secretary.
We'll nominate Tom or somebody.
So
Are we
Rob
supposed
just
to
nominated
nominate
Sal.
someone?
Are you
Is
going to
that-
accept that
I
nomination?
nominate Tom.
Oh,
I don't know what the duties are, so I can't.
Nothing.
Do I hear a second?
I second.
All in
the
favor?
duties of the secretary,
Opposed?
you'd be third in line if those two didn't attend the meeting and we had an official meeting.
Okay, I accept.
Okay. All in favor? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, nomination passes. I'll keep you in line, Rob.
Any other reports at all? I can't imagine we've gone through the entire meeting, and Jeff hasn't had something to come to the podium to talk to us about.
He's just listening and preparing.
Oh, no. It already gets-
Well, we appreciate we appreciate the public coming this evening. Thank you. But the only it gets publicized because it gets put in the record. It gets publicized over on the board. It gets put out on the board, but somebody has to physically come look at it. And there's a reason. It used to be you had to put it in a newspaper. Don't have a newspaper anymore. That's not there. That's the reason why nobody comes to public meetings much. They don't know what's going on. Because nobody has a clue what's going on unless you really care about what's going on. I mean, you know, yeah. I mean. The harbor commission has a lot of people because that's having a big flux. But you come to Smith River Community Water, you come, you know, all these fire districts and so forth. Nobody comes to them. No public comes. No public comes. So that's just the way it is. Is there a motion to adjourn? A second. All in favor? Good night.